Welcome to the Making of YOR, a podcast where we turn ideas into game mechanics for our upcoming tabletop RPG, YOR. If you'd like to stay up to date on the developments of YOR, head over to our Discord. Link is in the description. Yeah, so here we are with episode 4, and we're recording remote, so who knows, it might sound a little different, but we're going to mess around with some fun stuff today. Just in case this recording doesn't work out. Take a little detour from all of our serious
all the nitty-gritty bullshit we've been working on. Now we're going to work on something that's fun.
All the nitty-gritty stuff we've been doing.
So, about them different die sizes. So, what we've got written down in working concepts is we have different die for different categories of things. So, like weapons are D6, debuffs are D4s. Spells or D8s.
Yeah, like a die size would basically indicate the type of thing you're doing.
Yeah, I can immediately tell you're rolling the wrong one for that because that's a buff, a debuff, and you're rolling a D8.
I think that could be really cool. The die usage in a lot of games feels arbitrary to me anyway.
Yeah, it's, how many options do you want on this table? Do you want 4? Do you want 12? Do you want 20?
Yeah, a lot of times it just, I know it's probably just a numbers game, but I don't know that those numbers have ever been particularly well balanced. When you compare through most of like TTRPG history, you compare
they're just
Fireball to other things, and generally you're like, oh, well, Fireball is just better because the math, because we decided Fireball would have better dice number than other things.
Yeah, it's a cool spell, so it gets, to be better than other spells of that level.
Yeah.
So we usually end up with a D4, a D6, a D8, 2 D10s, a D12, and a D20 in your average dice purchase. So we've got D4s for buff and debuff. I like those because they're not like super huge swingy numbers, but they still feel impactful with the roll under system that we've got.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. And I think if we adjust from, you can adjust it by either feats that might provide flat numbers to something you're doing, or a feat that might provide a additional die. I know some other features we're using are already going to alter the number of die that you will roll. Mm-hmm. So we might continue with that theme on things you might pick up that would say, you get to add an extra one. That's one of the things. Baldur's Gate has a staff in it that when you bless someone, you get additional D4s on that bless. So, I don't mind the concept of allowing that to be altered with things like that. D6s for weapon feels good.
That's the one people are going to have the most of.
Yeah. And because I would imagine that weapon attacks and stuff is the most likely thing that's going to be multiplied. And so if you need to roll a bunch of them, the only thing will be spells are probably going to roll quite a few D8s.
Yeah. But I think most people probably have D8s as well. And, if we get to the point we can swap them, weapons are D8s and spells are D6s, but
yeah, I don't know. I like D6s so much. They're so satisfying.
They're the best die to roll, so you should roll them most often.
That's what I think. I love rolling.
Weapon die gets rolled, I think, the most often.
It should. I would hope. Well, at least in highest numbers. Of course, D20 will be. But not in our game. The fact that we're not rolling for attack
really going to slow it down.
That cuts out a lot of your D20 rolls.
Yeah. I like the idea is like the D20 is the test die, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one any test, you roll a D20. Any weapon, you roll a D6. Any spell, you roll a D8. Any buff, you roll a D4.
I'm going to put test as a D20 because I do like that a lot.
That'll get on that consistent verbiage we talked about last time.
Yeah. Yeah, verbiage is going to be important in the way that we're changing some stuff. We had talked about, I don't know if we recorded our conversation, a whole lot of it on jargon. No, we talked on the phone when we didn't
back
record
when I was dying
our
of COVID last Friday or Monday or whatever it was.
I guess that's a jump over to that conversation about terminology where we were discussing like the idea of a hallway, referring to a single file long room. You know, like you'd only be able to move. I'm starting to think maybe we should use just descriptive jargon and not colloquial jargon. Like maybe we should define things as like, these are the stereotypical types of rooms you will be in.
Yeah. And you need how many different kinds of rooms to build anything, right?
Yeah. So I think we maybe just describe all of these things and say, when you're constructing a place, these are the types of rooms that you should use, and what it means mechanically when you're in X, Y, or Z type of room.
Yeah.
Because in a theater of the mind scenario, you have to think about
big, medium, small room means that it's within so many feet. And then if it's, say, an armory, then it has a different, that armory tag on that room gives it a modifier. Or if it's a bedroom, that gives it a modifier for like what cover and things you could expect to find in that room.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever when we can give it tags like that. And I guess that might be just kind of a nitty gritty building process for us, where we could provide tags, and those tags would indicate a frequency of objects, which people may want to use, or they may not.
I think if we build that, it'll be really easy to work that into like dungeon building.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like, all right, you get like a 5 foot or a little cubed out room on grid paper, and you just draw out where every room is basically. And you go, big bedroom, small hallway, large barracks, trap room, big.
And that's the thing, because even if you're doing theater of the mind, a DM, even if he's not wanting to force the players to move around on a grid for the things that we've talked about, like speed of play and setup and all those things, that doesn't mean that the DM won't want a rough sketch that he can work off of that has the general layout of the space that they're in,
this structure that he has dropped you in.
Because if you're creating something, you probably still, like, if it's of any significant size, you're going to need to build it so that you can maintain orientation and reference from one space to another and know where people are at. Even if you're not going to have them go through the slog of actually moving through those, you'll probably want the reference points. And that way you also can preemptively decide if things are big rooms or small rooms, or
should take you, a half hour to build any dungeon.
So I guess on that, do we want to do jargon? Well, I guess we could talk about jargon this episode, like the idea of maybe defining a little bit of that.
Yeah, I mean,
or is that something that we just need to save for playtesting to figure out?
So I think probably what that one's going to be is you and I are going to sit down and write our little list of jargon, and then we're going to talk about how we came up with that list on the podcast.
Yeah, I guess we should do that, because there's some issues. There's some issues with regards to,
because us coming up with the jargon is going to be a lot of us sitting quietly staring at the ceiling thinking at the same time, which is not great audio.
No, it's not great audio, and really we have to come up with the mechanics of what it means to be in a different type of room.
Yes.
Like, what is your mobility options, or what type of
cover exists in a bedroom?
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we'll save that for later. What was the other thing we were wanting to talk about today?
I was thinking like boon classes and stuff. I was thinking the thing that got me thinking about it was, I feel like a goblin, whenever he gets like an animal pet, should have like the option to pick a warg, which is a little bit better than anybody else who could pick something, because goblins are always like raising those big doggos.
So are you talking about a player as a goblin?
Yeah.
So a goblin player
who picked Ranger would have like a little sidebar or something in the book that says whenever a goblin picks his pet for this, he actually gets to pick a warg, which is a little bit better than like the wolf or the or dog or whatever that like another race would get to pick.
Interesting. So I don't know that we should do that as a boon. That's
like not necessarily a boon class or whatever, but I'm just thinking like something along those lines. So if like a goblin probably has a ranger boon class that is like pack lord or whatever, that's all about like having a shitload of wargs that follow him around.
I think that's a cool idea. I have no clue where to establish that. Should that be established when you pick the race? Like when you pick a goblin, should it be in his race section?
If I was going to put it in like a book, I would put it next to the section where you pick out that creature. So like you select Ranger, you pick the pet archetype, you go and you go into the pet selection where the rules say how to select it, like what you can select or whatever the rules for that are. And a little sidebar there says, if you are a goblin, you can pick a warg instead.
Okay. I think that's interesting. I'm totally for this. Yeah. I'm just like trouble. I'm having trouble with like, if that sets like precedent for, are we going to have kind of like hidden racial buffs for certain
kind of like we talked about how a vampire blood sorcerer is better than a regular blood sorcerer or vampire. Like you can get either of those things and do other stuff, but if you combine those together, they do better things.
Yes, but the difference is vampirism is a boon class already and is not like a race you would pick at the start of the game.
True, but I think it's the same sort of synergistic combo that can come from different places. So you pick your race as much as you pick your class or your path in this.
True, you do. So I guess I won't put it under boons, but yeah, I think I'll start for our thing. It'll go in races somewhere, and we'll build a goblin race, and we'll make some notes like that. In the goblin race. It may not be how we would implement it in a PDF, but
just for our purposes.
Yeah, to organize it so that we know how to use it. You have any more weird race class combos?
What races did we pick?
We've got a lot.
Yeah.
You got human and all of its subtypes. Elf, dwarf, orc, automaton, awakened plant, and its subtypes, halfling, gnomes. That's what we've got so far.
All right. Gnomes definitely need like a super murdery option.
Oh, you mean because they're weird little burrowing monsters?
Yeah, it's hell creatures.
Yeah, disturbing flesh-eating monsters. They make vampires seem like
reasonable stand-up citizens.
Reasonable dudes.
Look, they eat like a couple people a month. It's not that big a deal. Gnomes butcher population centers.
Yeah. There's never more than a few vampires. Gnomes are like locusts.
Yeah, they have a distinct tendency towards swarming.
Yeah.
I always liked like dwarven, like stone wardens or dwarven defenders or stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I like where we're going here, but I do have to ask, since we're like starting down this path, are we wanting to imply that there are like not just like things that you would uncover, but distinctly we're pointing out that there are advantageous races to play with certain classes?
Yeah, and I think that's probably true anyway.
It is. I mean, I guess they don't act like it is, but there's not really a way to avoid that, I guess.
Yeah, they got rid of favored class with 5e, but it's still a thing.
yeah, certain abilities clearly
I mean,
work
Dragonborn
better.
had the strength charisma buff just so that people could have a paladin that had his 2 good ability scores.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to avoid, I guess. But when we switched to 2 and 1 in D&D, they kind of subverted a lot of that. But it doesn't change the fact that there's still certain other features that a race gets that either like fills a void, that like shores up something that a class might be missing, or a feature that a class might have trouble getting.
Yeah, it's
So
you can like half orcs have that die hard thing where they go to 1 hit point instead of 0, which you usually have to be a pretty high level barbarian to get.
Yeah, if we're doing that, if we go down that direction, then I think orcs feel like the soldier, at least in our world. I know a lot of times people think, oh, half orc barbarian or whatever, D&D. But with our lore, where we're going to have orcs are like, the feature that they have is actually called bred for war.
Yeah.
Like they're
designed to be
race.
like, warriors in battle.
Yeah. Then I think we'll end up kind of pushing orcs to they're favored in the soldier direction, probably somehow.
Yeah. Some orc specific soldier class.
Then again, maybe you're right. Maybe this is better from a building standpoint. That maybe I was wrong. Maybe these should exist as boons, not boon classes necessarily.
Yeah.
But maybe we should just build a bunch of boons that are there.
Yeah.
That could be applied in a variety of ways.
Like the warg that we just talked about.
Yeah, I think that might be better than this, because I think now from a character creation standpoint, we're establishing like better and worse in the upfront. And, and what I mean is integrating it from like, how are we going to express this to players?
Yeah.
I don't really want to put favored class type of thing under each race.
No, I think it's less like a favored class and more like if you are a goblin ranger, there is an extra little bonus in this for you, as opposed to if you are a goblin sorcerer or a goblin wizard.
Yeah, I don't dislike that, but I am back now to, I think you're right. They should be a boon of some sort.
Yeah. Because that also lets us tie into like boon classes and stuff. So if you don't want to play with these, you don't have to.
Well, and I think it's actually a great way to, because this should be, for the most part, should be simple boons. Just a regular old boons. And I think it's a great way to encourage a DM that they could create boons.
Yes.
Quite easily. As long as you keep your boons not epic boon level.
This is your tier 1 boon. These are like pretty easy. You get to pick a little better of a companion.
Yeah, I think if knowing like here's the range of what a simple boon might be like, that's something easy for a DM to make for whatever combination they might think is cool, or some kind of flavor they want to bring to their game.
Yeah. I mean, I like that.
I'll write that down. Goblin Ranger can pick Warg Companion.
So, like, what's the orc boon class look like, I guess? If they're soldiers, what is the orkiest of orc soldiers get? Because I like that the thing that nobody ever, like, puts in on orcs that from Tolkien is that orcs are, like, the Industrial Revolution race. I like the idea that orcs don't have, like, the greatest, weapons or armor or whatever, but everybody's outfitted in iron armor.
Well, I mean, I like that, but I don't know that we can implement, like the idea of actually what that means is maybe we have something interesting, not for the soldier, but for the artificer.
Oh, yeah.
Or
artificers.
Yeah, like orc artificers.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, it's mass production.
Yeah, they have something special when working with mundane materials.
I like that.
Yeah. Because that's off the wall.
Yeah.
That is not something that when you're picking something, you'd be like, oh yeah, Orc Artificer, that's the build.
Yeah, it's no. It's there's an Orc Warlord, but there's also an Orc Lord of War.
Yeah.
Orc Arms Dealer is their boon class for Artificer.
All right. Yeah, I'm just putting under
Boons.
the regular boom. Orc Arms Dealer gets a benefit. We'll have to come up with this. Later. Benefit gets a benefit for Artificer when working with mundane materials.
Yeah.
We might end up changing that to a certain type of material.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll know what that means, which is really all we need right now.
Orc Arms Dealer.
Yeah.
Be something like can craft whatever, can create a lot of weapons. Quickly
with less material.
Yeah, they're not special weapons, but they're weapons.
That's you need to outfit like a shitload of peasants really quickly, and Orc Artificer is what you need.
Yeah.
You want like something really cool and special, call somebody else. But if you need a shitload of something pretty good, call an orc.
I like the idea of this game becoming something where like you put together a royal sorcerer and an orc artificer, a few other things, and you're like, yeah, we don't play this game. We stage revolutions and we gather people and create armies.
Yeah, it's what's your group doing? Oh, peasant uprisings mostly. Like, I want that to be a perfectly valid play style, and I think it's gonna be. Yeah.
Well, I think the nature of what we're building is not really built for the standard TTRPG experience.
No, well, so D&D is sort of based around the idea of, like, back in the day when you were playing chainmail, you'd get your armies together and you'd go have a knockdown, drag out fight. But, like, what were the heroes in that army doing? And that's kind of what, like, Gary Gygax and his party were doing back in the day, from what I understand. So you were figuring out, like, what the leaders of your army were doing while the army wasn't fighting a battle. And if we can
we're making is more open-ended story. Like, well, if you are, X, Y, or Z guy in whatever universe you've made, we're creating more of like a freedom of, well, how do you want to reshape the world?
Yes, it should be just as easy for you to stage a peasant revolt as it is for you to go and, fight a bunch of bad guys.
And I think a lot of what we're doing is there are going to be certain types of DMs that are not going to probably like the format of our system because it's not very A to B.
Yeah.
This is how we progress the story, right? You've got one big bad villain, and you've got a dungeon to get through,
and you go kill his lieutenants until you catch up to him.
Yeah, and you have that format. Yeah. This is going to be much more
freeform and open-ended.
Yeah, much more freeform. Did you make a world that you want your player to interact with? Well, our system's built for weird interactions.
Yeah, it's so like, all Matt Colville stuff is all about how do you make your game more interesting with the rules that D&D has or the rules that D&D doesn't have, and what do you have to come up with on your own? And we're trying to come up with, all right, these are all the rules to do basically anything you've ever read in a fantasy book.
Yeah. We'll see if that works out.
You want to overthrow the evil overlord by turning his peasants against him? You can do that. You just want to go kill the evil overlord and be the new one? You can do that too.
Yeah. Who knows how your game's going to end?
Yeah. But there are many paths to victory.
Yeah. Victory is just whatever you and the DM decides you want to do with a story.
Yeah. The rules are just there to facilitate
a lot of DMs
that.
Do. In D&D, those that craft their own stories, it often is that way.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't follow the generic path. And I think since that's the case, building a system that's not, or that is designed specifically for open-ended progression of a story, that could be really, At least we're hoping it'll be a useful system, a useful tool for telling like abnormal progression stories.
It's the exact kind of game we want to run, and surely there are other people who want to run that kind of game.
All right, so we got a weird orc boon.
Heck yeah.
What about an awakened plant?
I mean, farmer, right?
Okay, but we don't have a farmer class.
No, I mean like a farmer like class boon. Or boon class?
Or just boon?
Yeah.
Or do you mean a boon class?
Like just like actual honest to God boon class named farmer.
Okay. What does it do?
Start growing more sentient plants in your field. I have no idea. But the farmer trope in your produce is of a superlative nature.
Okay, this almost sounds like, okay, so here's what I'm thinking, but this doesn't sound like a regular boon. This would either be a boon class or an epic boon. An awakened plant can potentially turn an area into, what would we call it? Like an awakened domain.
Okay.
So, you know how you have stories that have like the enchanted forest or the dark forest.
Yeah.
Or the whatever, where the land is like, the land has a will.
Yeah, they can terraform it into magical plant-based terrain.
Yeah, like you have this capacity to make a place of nature magical.
Yeah. It's a grove. Oh yeah, grove tender. There we go.
What is that from?
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. I'm thinking of a...
Well, it's in Baldur's Gate. They have the grove there.
Yeah, a grove tender is I think a boss in Risk of Rain.
Oh, too. Nice.
I think grove tender's one of the like little mini boss type things.
How we know it's a good name? Somebody used it first.
Yeah, grove tender epic boon for an awakened plant.
Yeah.
I'll just put can create a magical forest, but of course it won't be limited to forests.
Yeah, it's forest in quotes.
That is some like nonsense. From a rules perspective, what we'll end up having to create for that, I don't know. But you know what? Players always be trying to break the game.
Yeah, they do.
Why not let them kind of break the game?
Yeah, no, it's not broken if we meant for you to do it.
Yeah. You're like, but it's really strong. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so is other stuff.
So is other stuff.
That's why boons are that way. It's because the DM is the only one who can give them to you.
Yeah. The DM's the only one who can give them to you. And, you know, if you have the right play group and you got a DM who can handle it, being able to dish out stuff to your players that is like wildly cool interactions with the world around them.
D&D does not have really any way to give your character soft power.
No, it doesn't. And you know what else it doesn't do? I feel like it's fundamentally your character never feels immersive. And why, to me, that
you
is
only
because
get better at killing stuff. It's really hard to get better at like the incidental type stuff of being a person in a world.
Yeah, you can get unrealistically good at convincing a dragon to befriend you or whatever you'd like to call it, romancing the dragon.
Persuasion.
Yeah, but what I was going for, what I was meaning in it is that you're not like an NPC.
No
matter what kind of NPC it is, no matter how strong they are, even if players are so fundamentally different than the other things in the world. And, you know, and you say, well, sometimes the players are a lot stronger. Yeah. Players do eventually get ridiculously strong, like in damage.
Yeah.
Okay? But like they can't ever do, you know, like we were playing the other day, where we were playing monsters, you know, we were playing creatures, and there's just cool things that creatures can do that no player will ever have access
like fly at will. It's just so hard to get that, and the ones that are usually banned because they're busted, because fly on a character is crazy good.
Yeah, well, but I even meant just like you were playing an Iron Council.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like a CR3 creature, maybe. And it's just a human or something.
But he can give 2 extra attacks per turn to somebody.
Yeah, he has this just reaction thing that he's good at leading groups of people. I like the idea of if a feature exists in the game, there's a way a player can get that feature.
Yeah.
And in many cases, yeah, it'll be as a boon or an epic boon or a boon class is the way that you can get that feature.
Yeah.
Because getting maybe a given feature at any level would be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's the same thing in D&D. Once you get to level 20, is there hardly any incidental feature that you could that a creature has?
Yeah.
That would break the game more than you being level 20?
Yeah, I'm a level 20 wizard with access to the wish spell. Show me anything in the monster manual better than that.
Yeah. So if I know it seems like we're offloading work because we're saying that, well, the DM needs to decide when you guys can get these, but I think any experienced DM and the play group he's
That's
playing
what the
with,
tiers are for. Don't give somebody a tier 4 boon when they're still tier 1, but other than that, go nuts, buddy.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had with this.
You're giving one person all the boons and nobody else is getting any. Maybe that's on you.
Yeah, maybe you are playing favorites and don't do that. Wow, what a digression. Orc Arms Dealer and Grove Tender.
Yeah.
What about an automaton? What if I don't know if we put this down on their race. Let's see, automaton. Yeah, we'd put them down right now as we still haven't worked out their features. Because we know that they're going to have like modular, like some modular choices
like
when you
droids.
create them. But what if we have boons and epic boons for them? Probably mostly will just be boons, but some could be epic boons.
Yeah.
And they're just new parts.
Oh, yeah. It's
with the potential that like you could become, maybe as an epic boon, you could become large.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like
size
really
enhancement.
big. Yeah, size enhancement or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. It's new parts for automaton.
Yeah, I'll just write in the boons section, automaton parts simple, and then epic boons, automaton parts advanced.
Probably an epic boon for Necromancer, which is like Master of the Horde, which is some multiplicative effect on how many undead you can control.
For an automaton or for just a class?
Necromancer. Yeah, just a epic boon tied to a class, Necromancer.
You know what I think? Okay, so we've got a Necromancer class, right?
Yeah.
That's just built into the regular classes, which I suspect one of those things is you're going to get access to different spells. Like, well, maybe not access, but you'll get a like better variants of the ritual spells that allow you to animate.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but I like the idea that most necromancers have some undead. But a few necromancers are like, I run armies of undead. That's my play style.
Okay. Well, I feel like all necromancers are probably going to end up going that direction, or that's going to be the desire, would be like have a lot of undead. I would think that if someone's picking the necromancer class, that's probably going to be a standard objective. So that might even be something that we could put as like, you know, a tier 4 feature has to do with like,
well, I also,
the cap.
Because like in 3.5, there were basically 2 ways to play a necromancer. You either raised a huge horde or you melted people's face with negative levels of necrotic damage.
Oh, sure. Well, I guess we could do a boon that just has to do with number of undead, but we could do boons that I don't know if I guess this would be we just had to figure out how strong it would be, but like you could have boons that you have generic undead, right? Which is kind of how D&D handles it. It doesn't matter what it is you're raising, but often whatever you're raising, you just turns into a zombie or a skeleton.
Yeah.
So you can create generic undead. But what if we had boons that allowed you to create different types of undead.
Okay, yeah.
Like more
it's
advanced forms
just
of
boons
undead.
that let you raise like mummies or ghouls or draugs or...
Yeah, like you could, when you raise something, it could be either like featured out differently. So either maybe you could write, like say mummies, ghouls, like higher tier creatures, or maybe even a boon that lets you actually raise the creature that died.
Ooh, okay. Like
You know
true
what I mean?
necromancer kind of thing.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, that seems fine.
I don't even know how we're going to limit numbers of raised things. We haven't talked about that at all on the Necromancer.
I
like
mean,
how he'll be.
I always liked the Dread Necromancer in 3.5 because it made the undead you crafted better. Like they had a better strength buff and you could control more of them. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we make a Necromancer, I want the capacity to, like I say, have a substantial number, not unlike a Necromancer boss might be.
yes,
That you would face. But
like you should be able to march into the Necromancer's tower with your own army of undead to fight his army of undead. You don't have to do that, but it should be an option available to you.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how we approach all of that. Maybe it's because we'll obviously have some balance things related to it. We might have something as simple as a general point of balance most of the time where it's like, yeah, you can raise more undead, but you can only actively command X number of undead.
Yeah,
right?
that's a pretty typical fix, which I don't hate.
Which means that you can have basically a lair that has a bunch of undead in it.
Yeah.
That are whatever guarding wherever you're at. But you can only take so many with you at once. Save maybe some high level ritual spells.
Yeah.
That would allow you to...
Your honor guard of Death Knights or whatever.
Yeah, that would allow you to maybe control a greater number for a longer period of time or something like that.
But yeah, something like that where you can have your
Necromancy's hard to balance.
Absolutely. But we can do it, I believe.
Because that's what this whole game, what we're trying to make is about the cool factor.
Yeah, it's the cool game.
How do we take really cool stuff that you want to do, but make it playable? We don't want it to be broken so much so that there's like only a few things that are really, really, really powerful and the other things can't really stand up to it.
Hey, surprise, we accidentally made one class that's 10 times better than any other.
And we're going to have balance issues just by nature of the fact that there's some things that we're trying to do that a lot of other games have avoided because of the balance issues that go with it. But if I'm honest, it hasn't, just because they've avoided doing certain things that are hard to balance, doesn't change the fact that their game's still wildly imbalanced.
Yeah, it's, you just didn't put this in there because it wasn't balanced, and then proceeded to give the monkey people an infinite wave dash.
Yeah. Fighters are still what they are in this game, which is largely terrible, save a few subclasses that are good.
Like, you didn't pick Battle Master or Giant Soul or Rune Knight or Echo Knight or whatever. You didn't pick one of the three good ones. Oh, it's too bad that you suck dick now.
Yeah. Like, it's always bummed me that
it'd be better for you to go into town, suck enough dick to hire a wizard with the gold you made, and then have him go adventure.
Yeah.
I'm tired of that being the optimal fighter play style.
Yeah, I really like, like Eldritch Knight. What a cool concept. What a cool subclass in theory.
Like, hey, did you want to be a worse warlock in every way?
Yeah. Do you want to be budget warlock that has a little bit more health, but way worse?
Yeah.
Everything else.
You didn't want to cheese the ability to summon siege equipment? Oh, well, I guess you suck now. Yeah, no, I want fighters to be, cool, mystical swordsmen like they are in every other fantasy property that isn't a game.
Yeah. So we have a spell sword.
Yeah.
Which is sort of our Eldritch Knight. But
cool.
We have boons and epic boons and stuff like that I mean, you could play a straight up soldier and still get some magical abilities.
Yeah, you could sell your soul to a fae and she'll give you cool magic powers.
Yeah, why not be a warlock and a fighter?
Yeah, warlock isn't a class, it's a job.
Yeah, as it should be. You made a deal with the DM
with your
power.
Mystical sugar daddy.
Yeah, your mystical sugar daddy, also known as the DM, who now is going to do things to you.
Yeah, we're definitely putting out an April Fool's Warlock Boon class of DM patron.
Have you brought the snacks to every session?
Congratulations. You roll with advantage on literally everything. Fail a roll, give your DM $20. See if that changes things.
Epic boon, DM's favorite.
Yeah. You don't roll on random encounter tables. The DM just picks the best result for you. Yeah, that kind of thing is what I want to release on like April Fool's, like special Patreon releases.
Yeah.
Just dumb meta bullshit. I remember back in the day writing GM for what god my player worshipped. Man, what do you think half dragons, like the human half races, get? There should be like a human paragon for anybody who like wants to focus on the human half of their half race.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really been giving a lot of thought to races recently.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't either. I just was thinking about it since we started with Goblin. But
yeah,
what classes do we have that need other cool stuff?
We might have to relook. I don't know. We might have to relook at the witch.
Yeah. Oh, we definitely need a chosen one epic boon or boon class or something.
What will that give you?
I don't know. A mentor that will die.
Main character syndrome.
Yeah. Like, look, you get some stuff, but you basically do have to follow the hero's journey if you pick this.
Well, it's a boon, so you can try to get it.
Yeah, well, you gotta, first of all, you have to decline this boon to be eligible to receive it later. The refusal of the call. That may just be our folk hero that we have written down already.
That's true.
Oh, Scholar needs a tenured epic boon.
Okay.
I don't know what it does other than make him unfireable, but it should be like far more powerful than its name would imply.
Tenured.
I have tenure. You can't fire me. It's immune to fire.
There's something that makes no sense. It's just for the memes.
It's just a meta joke. I mean,
yeah,
that is hilarious. But yeah, probably something other than immune to fire.
Actually, you know what? You know what fits pretty well with the concept of the Scholar?
Yeah.
It would be maybe some type of immunity to mind affecting.
Oh, yeah?
The Scholar should be highly learned in everything, objectivity. So maybe they're immune to being like charmed, frightened, or whatever, like a variety of.
Yeah, you're just statuses. More immune to stuff because you have the weight of the university behind you.
This is becoming not an epic boon, though, if it's that simple. That's just I guess it
depends on how much stuff it makes you immune or resistant to.
So, immune to being frightened and charmed, and maybe advantage on, not advantage, but whatever we end up calling it, an advantage of some kind.
Yeah, it's
when making like persuasion checks.
Yeah, it's I don't know, various soft power social oriented abilities.
Yeah.
Kind of like a better version of favored.
Okay, so advantage on social encounters with something conditional. With because favored treats you as an ally, like an organization or a person. And And this is going to be, it would be the same kind of thing, though. The way we have it built currently.
Yeah.
Or the way I'm going with it, it would be the same kind of effect, unless you want to make something like a more extreme variation.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. It is the university or whatever academic institution the scholar works for is basically saying, this is our guy. So, like, if you fuck with this guy, you're also fucking with this massive university.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to write, but I understand where we're going with this. It'll end up being organizations associated with this scholar.
Yeah.
Will go to special lengths to protect his interests or something like that. So something like this, I don't know if we're going to be able to mechanically define it with like ones and twos. It feels like something that'll have to just be at the DM's discretion.
Yeah,
but something like this.
There will be like, a few minor, like probably mechanical benefits or whatever. But I think a lot of these like epic boons and stuff are going to just be like soft power type.
Yeah, they kind of have to be open. I mean, the same thing with like noble title. We have an epic boon as a noble title.
Like they'll give you like a stipend and some land or whatever. But other than the things it says it gives you, it's sort of up to you to run these.
Make use of it. Yeah. Yeah, we're not gonna be able to fully, to the extent that you might be able to use a noble title in a playthrough. We can't write all of that into the rules of it. That's something that
no, but we can probably have a section somewhere on nobility in the DM's guide that tells him how nobility works in a medieval fantasy world.
Sure, we can do stuff like
all right,
that.
This is how king, duke, marquis, baron, viscount. All this stuff. These are how they all like tree up into king or high king or emperor or whatever. And these are sort of the duties, and these are non-inheritable titles. And
yeah, we can do some of that to give context to it. But a lot of these epic boons are they're still open-ended usefulness as to how much usefulness will the player get out of it.
That's what a lot of stuff doesn't give me. Like, that's what the game that Clayton ran, that open-ended can-do anything RPG, the thing it didn't have was context for anything.
Yeah, no, it was just a hot mess of rules that were non-existent.
It's like, oh, well, you're clearly referencing a thing that does not exist. Yeah, I think as long as we put like rules and stuff in these abilities can be a little nebulous as long as we tie them back into a thing we've given context for somewhere else.
Yeah, I think you're right. Alrighty. Well, this has been kind of an open-ended, more of a brainstorming session.
Yeah.
Than,
this is more of what we do
sit-down
on like days when we don't record. So
yeah, a little insight into kind of more abstract ideation.
Yeah, the fun stuff.
But it is fun. It is fun stuff. But I think that's probably about good for this session.
I think so. We'll have to see how this remote thing turned out.
Yeah, we'll see if you guys actually ever hear this.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.